Hi, everybody. This is Bob Bowden. I am the recent and former governor of the Television Academy's reality programming peer group, and I wanted to welcome you to today's panel discussion about the state of reality 2022. We have two panels to show you today, one with broadcast executives and one with cable and streaming executives who are all at the top of the game in reality. They're going to talk about what went well and what didn't in 2021, how COVID has affected our world, and their plans for 2022. It should be very, very exciting, and we hope that you learn a lot from this. Due to the tricky scheduling for these panels, we're unable to do a Q&A today, but we still think that this will be a valuable experience for you, and we're thrilled that you joined us. So here we go. Hello, everyone. We are here with our top broadcast executives. We have three executives joining us for this panel. We have Jenny Groom, Executive Vice President, Entertainment Unscripted Content for NBC Universal Television and Streaming. We have Rob Wade, President, Alternative Entertainment and Specials, Fox Entertainment. And we have Kyle Zizo, Vice President, Alternative and Digital Programming for the CW Network. Welcome, panelists. Thank you for taking the time to do this. So we're going to jump right in. It's a new year, and we're excited about how reality is going to progress this year. Let's start off with what you consider to be your hits and misses of last year, of 2021. Jenny, you want to start?
Sure. 2021 was a really busy year, I think, for all of us. We had a lot of unscripted shows rolling out across the different platforms. For me specifically, me and my team were now across NBC as well as Peacock and the cable channels. So we had a lot of different things that hit the airwaves that we're really excited about. We launched 11 series on NBC, including 4 new game shows. We had America's Got Talent return and American Ninja Warrior, which are 2 great staples for us in the summer that we were incredibly happy with and proud of. And then additionally, we launched a new musical game show with Jimmy Fallon called That's My Jam. And we've been thrilled to see how the audiences have been responding to that. The Voice has done incredibly well for us this past fall. It's the most watched entertainment program of the 21-22 season, and it's really delivered its best season overall in digital. We're seeing a lot of record-breaking levels for the interactions on the social platforms as well, which has been really great to see. And then across the wider platforms, we launched 5 new shows on Peacock, including a baking show with Andy Samberg and Maya Rudolph, and a few new series on USA. So we've got a lot going on.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Rob, tell us about Fox.
Yes, so we've had a really exciting year. It's been obviously a challenging year like everybody else in terms of production, but it's felt like a win actually just getting new formats and new shows on the screen, quite honestly. We did a spin-off of The Masked Singer at the beginning of the year, Masked Dancer, which did well and has actually traveled to about 5 other territories as well off the back of that. We obviously brought back Masked Singer strong twice, in both in the spring and in the fall, and bringing back some of the old game shows like Name That Tune. We're very happy with the performance of that, and we've brought that back for a second season, which is already is being filmed at the moment while I speak. So overall, we felt throughout the summer we had success with Crime Scene Kitchen, which followed MasterChef, and then this fall we probably had our biggest swing yet in terms of a different type of show with Alter Ego, which we're really proud of because I think it was a genre-defining show, obviously using technology that had never been used before. And, you know, it's really our mantra that to really try shows are different. I think the bigger swings get, you know, the bigger swing, the bigger the chance of a hit. Doesn't always pan out as big as you'd want it, but I think that's our mantra. And so we're very, very proud of that show.
Great. Thank you very much. And Kyle.
Yeah, so of course the pandemic and the production, everything that we went through with production this year made it very challenging, as others have mentioned, but it was a really exciting year for us in unscripted. We have more unscripted series on the air at the CW than we've ever had before, which is great. And we're also a bigger part of the overall brand than we've ever been, and it's going to continue to grow. So this year we relied a lot on some of our tentpole hits that always can always deliver for us, including Whose Line and World's Funniest Animals and Penn and Teller Fool Us. We also moved unscripted into the fall in a bigger way, which we haven't done for a long time. And in some ways that paid off really well and was a big success. And in other ways we learned some things that we'll be implementing in the future. With that though, CW launched Saturday night for the first time, making us a 7-night-a-week network, and we launched it with unscripted programming and are very pleased with how that did. So that was really exciting for us and really big. And then for some of the other shows, some of the newer shows that weren't as well known, maybe we think that viewers may not have completely, there might not have been high awareness and viewers might not have been able to locate some of them since we usually do unscripted in the summer. So Killer Camp, as an example, we took it off the air after a couple episodes, but we're very proud of the creative of that and very happy with it and are going to be relaunching it, we think, this summer. And Hidden Temple, although you can see that the linear ratings are what they are, it's actually currently our biggest, our most streamed show, I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat this. It's actually our biggest unscripted series on streaming at this time. So lots of good news that came out of this year. And it's just a reflection of the current world, I think, where some people find us on streaming, some shows are going to do well on linear, and hopefully some of them will be cross-platform successes as well.
Very good. Thank you. So my next question, we've alluded to in a couple of ways. It's about COVID. Obviously, COVID has changed a lot of things in our business. How has COVID affected your productions and your development slates? Jenny, can I start with you again?
Sure. Yeah, I think these guys alluded to it. It's definitely been a challenge to get things up and going in COVID. I think we've learned a lot. I would say we are certainly way farther along than we were a year ago. We're starting to see progress and moving in the right direction. I think some of the things that affected on our show specifically, audiences, having a big audience there to cheer people on, to be interact with what's going on. We had to scale way back on that on a lot of our shows, and we missed that, and we're starting to see that come back, which is a great thing to see. I think just like there's an additional layer of complexity when it comes to testing and planning and safety and calls with legal and just making sure that everything is completely buttoned up and everybody is safe. But it's been pretty incredible to see how much we've all been able to accomplish, I think, in the unscripted space during this time and deliver what, audiences are looking for. I would say on the development side, it's been really great to see a lot of creativity come through the door at that time of people not being able to be out and shoot as much as they normally would be filming. Really, they were able to kind of focus in more on development, and we saw a lot of great ideas come through the door. So we're really excited about the slate that we're going to be launching this year and next year, because a lot of creativity and ingenuity has come out of that.
Great. Well, we will come back to you to find out more about that slate in a moment. Rob, how did COVID affect your production and development?
Oh, we're not at all. We just found it easy. No, I'm joking. No, so we it's funny actually, because 2020 was actually an easier year to produce than 21. That was my big surprise, and the reason being is because as the world opened up, it obviously increased the amount of cases hugely, which caused far more disruptions. Whereas in 2020, people were being incredibly cautious and careful. We were testing the same. We had all the health and safety, protections in place. But as I said, in 21, it became people were vaccinated, the world was open, and therefore it meant there was more community spread. So that caused a lot more disruptions with the shows. And to Jenny's point, Jenny mentioned, phone calls with legal and phone calls with health and safety. What the most challenging thing I've found is obviously showrunners are across the entire show. They're across the creative and they're across the logistics of how the show runs and the production. If you land 50, 60% more logistical administration work to someone's work plate, they simply don't have the hours in the day or the headspace to be able to focus on the creative in the same way. And that combined with actual physical restrictions to what you're able to do, like audiences or whatever, has meant that I think for new formats in particular, that you're probably only running about 80% of what they could be. I think bringing a show back, and Jenny mentioned The Voice and stuff, like at least you have 10, 15, 20 seasons to come in, you really understand it, you have showrunners who really understand the show, so it's tweaking that, but they understand the essence and tone of a show because it's been made before. But on a new format, when you don't know the secret sauce of the show, having to work that out plus a new format and deal with this COVID has been really, really, really challenging. And honestly has made me personally feel more like, okay, just being a little bit more wary about maybe saving some of those big ideas until there's a little bit of a clearer runway, and we're in a world in which we can really make the best show possible.
Very, very well said. Thank you. Kyle.
Everything that Jenny and Rob said definitely resonates with me and has impacted us, I think, in much the same ways. So I don't have a lot to add in terms of the challenges. What I will say is that it did accelerate a trend for us toward international acquisitions and co-productions. So early on, we started, we did a couple of those at-home COVID type shows, but we really started looking for acquisitions, particularly acquisitions that could continue on as original series, if we needed to do more of them. And we found that there was a huge benefit to that. And it's going to, as we continue to do this, even hopefully post-COVID, it's going to allow us to make more quality shows that are broadly relevant. And we're going to continue to look for projects out there that we can bring over to our network from international, but we're also doing it both ways. And we are trying to, we're growing product at home that we're also going to export and try to find international partners on and distributors to bring out to the international marketplace. So while we'll still have a lot of CW exclusive programming that's just with us, the fact that we are domestic only on linear and on CWTV.com just gives us the flexibility to play in that international ecosystem in really fun and beneficial ways. And that definitely was accelerated by this whole situation.
Very good. So I want to talk about trends as reality has evolved over the past couple of decades. What trends can you all identify in the audience's appetite for non-scripted series moving into this new year? Let me start with you, Rob.
I think that over the last year, there's definitely been a return to what people know. And people have found comfort and safety in familiar formats. I actually think that's very, very temporary. And I think we're actually looking at the moment at a slightly less adventurous kind of taste in the audiences. Whereas I think coming out of this pandemic, there's going to be an explosion of a real desire for originality and new styles of formats. I think obviously the advent of streaming and no advertising and so on has meant that the challenges of being on ad-supported networks and maintaining viewerships throughout an hour-long show with 43 minutes of programming and 70 minutes of ads, of course, has become exacerbated. And we're also seeing just so much more focus now, not on the live same day, but obviously on catch up. So I think we're seeing just generally the way in which people are going to accept how they can view their entertainment is changing slowly. Having said that, I still think that for us on network, it's still being proven to be the only place where you can really capture urgency and a group moment with an audience. I think, you just have to look at the last week, and I think, certainly in the overnights, probably the two biggest shows were live in front of a studio audience, and I think Annie last Thursday, still aggregated like the biggest audiences of the week because they were live and they created an urgency. So I think probably as well as a demand for real originality, I think there's going to be as well a demand for things that really create an urgency and bring people together. I think people want that community, and if you can provide it for them, they will come.
Let's hope they do. Thank you. Kyle?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Sorry, Alexa's talking to me. Sorry. I didn't say her name.
I don't know that.
Be quiet, Alexa. Kyle, over to you.
Yeah, no, I think that's so right. And just for us being broadcasters and the linear performance being still very important to us, we're actually right in the middle right now of evolving our mandates. So I think, we're asking a lot of these questions and trying to pinpoint and put our finger on sort of what to expect ahead. But, on broadcast, it's going to be one way. And I think we're going to be looking at more events and specials and eventizing series in unique and fun ways, just so that every single episode feels like something special and like a reason to come to the show. And we're also taking a step back and trying to, take a hard look at the data. We have a lot of great data on our audience and how they come to view us and where they view us. And right now, as we all know, audiences are so segmented. And so it's just a matter of understanding them, I think. And with us, fortunately, we stick close to our brand and what's worked on the CW. And I imagine that we're going to continue doing that, but we're seeing more comedy. I imagine we're going to continue looking at immersive, narrative-driven competition and game shows to sort of live alongside what we do so well in the scripted space. And we're going to be broadening out and just making sure that we're capturing as broad an audience as possible, while also looking at how we can maximize and bring more people over to CWTV.com and the streaming side. So it's there are a lot of options. And so I think that's probably the biggest trend, is that there are just so many options. So for us, it's about finding why viewers come to us, continuing to give them that in new and exciting ways. And hopefully they'll keep coming back, and then more viewers who want that will come to us as well.
Thank you. And Jenny, what do you see as trends?
I think these guys have hit on some great things, so I won't duplicate. What I would say is that I think what we're seeing just generally from a mood perspective, people are wanting to escape. They're wanting to just be able to watch things that simply sit down and entertain them and bring joy, and are things that they can sit down with their families and watch together, make them laugh. Still, also being able to connect with those around them through various ways, whether that be through social media or conversations around shows. But really, I think just seeing that level of, I don't want to have to sit down and think too hard. I just kind of want to be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. So now the question that I'm sure many of our TV Academy members are most curious about. What are the highlights of your plan for 2022, for this year, and possibly beyond, if you're thinking that far ahead? Kyle, you touched on a little bit of that, but do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure thing. So we're going to continue to take cues from what's working already on both the scripted side and the unscripted side. And so part of that, like I mentioned, could be more competition and game shows that sort of can live alongside or have synergy with the genre stuff that's working on in scripted. But specifically for 2022, we have a really exciting year ahead. We're going to be, we have on the scripted side, All American and All American Homecoming starting very soon. And so leading into that, we have a companion docuseries that's following a marching band at an HBCU in Texas called March, which is launching imminently. It's a great story. We're really excited to share it. So definitely look out for that. And then of course, Would I Lie to You? We're going to be coming out with this year. It's already filmed. This one, Whose Line has worked so well for us for so many years. So we've been looking for a companion for this. Would I Lie to You felt like the perfect fit. It has been a lot of pressure because the UK show is so good. So there's a lot to live up to there, and particularly with the casting and just how the comedy rolls and everything. And I think we nailed it. So the casting is great. It's hosted by Asif Manvi, who is perfect. He's also executive producer. Matt Walsh, Sabrina Jalise feel like they were just born for these roles as team captains. It's such a fun show, and we're really looking forward to it. Great team behind it with Robert and Michelle King, who are so invested and involved, Glenda Hirsch, and the whole team at Truly Original, and then Jim Biederman as the showrunner. It's just a home run, and look out for news on that, because I'm really excited to share it with everybody. And we'll have more announcements, of course, coming up, but we're really upbeat about 2022.
Fantastic. Jenny, any sneak peeks you can give us?
Any sneak peeks? We've got some good stuff coming out. Some stuff hasn't been announced yet, so I can't share that, but we have a big singing competition show. We love doing singing and talent on NBC. So we're launching a new singing competition show after the Winter Olympics called American Song Contest. It's bringing Eurovision to the States. It's big and spectacle, perfect to kind of come right out of the Winter Olympics. And really also just, it's about bringing the states and people together through music. So it feels very timely as well. It's an 8-week live event series. So we're excited about that. And then we have some more new game shows that we're going to be rolling out across the year, all in different, areas within game, and a couple big splashy entertainment shows rolling out in the summer that we haven't quite announced yet. And then on the Peacock side, we're doing some big buzzy ideas as well. We announced a juicy dating show that we're doing called Pride and Prejudice. It's a little bit, think Bridgerton meets Bachelor. And then we're doing some things in the social experiment space that will start to drop across the year that we're excited about. Knowing on Peacock, we really have to be a little louder and noisier to try to get people there. And so we're trying some different things on that platform, which is exciting.
Terrific. And Rob, what's on your docket?
So we're really excited for the new year. We've got over this year as well, we made a couple of acquisitions in the alternative department. One was Studio Ramsey, which is Gordon Ramsay's company. The other was TMZ. So we have a number of TMZ original documentaries, which have been doing well for us. Again, coming to the point of what brings people together. Well, I think a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, there was that Turpin doc on I think it was ABC. It's you can pick a story in the zeitgeist, and we did one with TMZ on Tiger King and UFOs that performed very well with us with very little promotion. So I'm excited about creating more kind of interdocs with them. Studio Ramsey, we have a really big show, Gordon Ramsay's first new competition show for 10 years called Next Level Chef, which we are really excited about. It's come together very well, and that's launching the beginning of January. I'm also excited about returning I Can See Your Voice, which was obviously big unscripted hit from last year. In the new year, Ken Jeong's comedy vehicle, which we love as a format. And then we've got the return of Joe Millionaire, which we've reskinned to a slightly different format, where the women have to have there's two Joes, and one is rich and one is poor, and the women don't know which again is a really fun twist on that format. And then later in the year, as the guys, I'll copy what the guys said, we've got some big announcements coming, but nothing I can really reveal as of yet. But a couple of returning shows as well coming throughout the summer that we're excited to have back on the air. But yeah, it's gonna be nice to kind of slowly creep back into normality, I think. And as Jenny was mentioning earlier, I think the development has been really good. And I think people don't realize how long development takes. Like, it's not, it can often take you a good year to get something from, by buying it to a place where you really want to green light it. And then obviously it takes another half year to film it. So it's a slow process, but one which I think you'll start seeing the fruits of the last year, probably back end of next year, and even the following January. So yeah, it's exciting times.
It is very exciting. You have given me a lot to watch this year, so I will be busy. And thank you for that. And speaking of things to watch, our last question, perhaps the most fun question, is what do you like to watch of your competitors? Maybe what show do you wish you had on your network? Let's start with you, Kyle.
Sure. I will. Jenny and Rob, I think you guys both have awesome shows on your networks, and particularly I'm impressed with, for each of you, The Voice and The Masked Singer. And I'm calling these out because I know obviously the big hits, and you get a lot of credit for them all the time. But I want to specifically talk about how you are constantly making them surprising and fun and just feel new. And it's a hard thing to do, and you guys both do it so well. So it's really impressive, and I love both of those shows. So yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I do too. They are great. Rob, what do you like to watch of the other folks?
I think, there's almost everything, honestly. I think the guys, I love Penn and Teller's Magic Show. I think it's really good. It's a really good format, a really strong CW. And then, the iHeart shows as well that you guys carry are really big and broad. And I remember being in a hotel room couple of years ago and just ending up spending 2 hours of my life just sitting there and watching that. And then look, NBC, I think there's so much that Jenny does on that network. I mean, it's difficult to know where to start when you got top quality. I can watch The Wall. I can sit and watch really happily. Ninja Warrior, I love. Obviously, as an X Factor person, The Voice is always a little bit difficult for me to watch.
Fair.
But I used to produce America's Got Talent. So these are shows for me which are some of the best formats in reality history. So there's a lot to watch, and I think you guys did a great job with That's My Jam as well. I think I really enjoyed that one as well.
Oh, thanks.
And Jenny, when you're not watching your own shows, what do you like to watch?
No, I mean, look, I truly do love watching everything that's out there. It's really fun to see what everyone's doing. And I think, what Rob mentioned about Kyle, you guys have some great stuff over there, and it's exciting to hear about what you have ahead. And I think on Rob's side, obviously sitting around watching Masked Singer with my kids, looking forward to watching Gordon's show, huge fan of him and what he does. And I think, I would say, on the CBS side too, we would love on NBC, to have a show like Survivor, that takes just regular people and puts them through their paces and has been on the, a true tentpole and genre defining piece in our world is one that we'd gladly take on NBC.
Terrific. Well, I appreciate all of your candid remarks there. That's very nice of you to say all that about your competitors. Well, that's all we've got for now. If we were to do a word cloud of this conversation, I think one of the largest words would be excited. All of you have mentioned shows that you were excited about putting on. As a longtime viewer and professional in reality, I am excited to see all of it. And I am honored to share the stage with you. I appreciate your time. And good luck in the new year with everything you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was a great panel. Our broadcast executives giving you a little peek behind the curtain at what's coming up this year in reality. And now we're going to hear from some executives in the cable and streaming world to also share their vision for this year. Enjoy. I am delighted to welcome the top executives in the reality space, mostly in the cable and streaming world, but there's so much crossover today that everybody is responsible for everything. And I'm happy to introduce you all to Nancy Daniels, Chief Brand Officer, Discovery and Factual; Nina Diaz, President of Content and Chief Creative Officer for MTV Entertainment Group and Head of Unscripted Entertainment and Adult Animation for Paramount Plus; Corey Henson, Executive Vice President and Head of Unscripted Programming for TBS, TNT, and True TV; and Jennifer O'Connell, Executive Vice President of Nonfiction and Live Action Family Programming, HBO Max. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. We're happy to put on this panel so our TV Academy members can find out more about what's happening this year in reality. So let's jump right in. Let me ask you what you believe your hits and misses were of last year of 2021. Nancy, can we start with you?
Sure. Well, it's been an interesting year, I think, for me, especially at Discovery. We launched Discovery Plus at the beginning of the year. We were coming up with new strategies of launching shows on both streaming and linear, and trying to figure out how to measure success and what is a hit and what deserves a second season. It's like, I feel like everything's been thrown up in the air and the whole world is backwards and we're all trying to figure this out. But it isn't what it used to be, where you put something up and if you got a great, overnight rating, you get a hit and you get going. Like it's just a different world now. And for us, kind of developing for that streaming audience has really been very exciting, and a different way of thinking about content, a different way of structuring content, and a different way of looking at success. So I'll just say for some of the hits, some of the big obvious ones for us at Discovery were Shark Week. We had another record Shark Week, and we were able to create unique content for Discovery Plus, but we had Shark Week going strong on linear. Another big moment for us was Puppy Bowl on Animal Planet, which was only a month into launching Discovery Plus, but it was the first time we could see in real time the power of a known kind of tentpole event that Puppy Bowl actually is, and just really see a big surge on not just linear, but on streaming at the same time. And then it's been interesting for us to think about our IP and think about what could we do, how could we tweak it, how could we change it, what could be fun way to put it on a streaming platform. And just one example of that is we took our show Naked and Afraid and made sort of a relationship and dating show out of it with Naked and Afraid of Love. That would have been hard to do just on linear Discovery, but it worked really well for us on Discovery Plus, and it was a really fun exercise for us to go through. And I'll just say, as far as misses, I'll wrap it up quick, but it is really hard, if not impossible, to launch a new hit show on a cable linear network right now. People come to cable linear networks for what they know and what they love and what they remember. For us, it's been a lot of launching shows that are spinoffs of our known shows or franchise extensions, but anything that's brand new has had a really hard time breaking through. We had a great show called CAL FIRE that was really embedded with CAL FIRE during the record fire season of last year. Amazing stories, amazing visuals, hard to break through. We did another kind of traditional show called Hunting Atlantis, which I think 10 years ago, if we put that on, it would have broken out and been a big hit, but it was just impossible to find a new audience. And that has been really tough, I think, for us to think about what is the future of getting new shows onto these linear cable nets.
Thank you. Nina, tell us what were your hits and misses?
Hits, I think, we were really leaning into how do we take our treasure trove of IP and linear success and fuel streaming P+. So, we were able to really continue to expand our franchises into so many successful iterations. We were able to take Real World and Real World IP for Real World Homecoming on P+, the Challenge All-Stars. We were able to launch RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars all successfully onto P+. And we were able to change our focus from just thinking as a content and development team domestically and US to a true global franchise strategy. I wouldn't describe anything as a miss per se, but I would say, this year we really wanted to take on mental health. And we really felt like a miss previously was mental health representation across all of our shows and being more responsible in our storylines and making sure that we showcase more authentic portrayals.
Okay, thank you. Corey, what about you?
For me, I was coming in with a bit of a clean slate. So to Nancy's point about launching new shows and new franchises, in this cable landscape, it's really challenging. So I was looking for some IP that people, were familiar with already. And uniquely, I think as a company, we came together last year, which is really challenging in a company of this scope and scale to really bring all of the different divisions together. But we were able to sort of unite across not only the linear channels, but working closely with Jen and her team and the folks at HBO Max, and even on the feature side, tap into really big name pieces of talent around franchises like Wipeout, which we put John Cena into, which at the same time he was starring in Suicide Squad at the studio. And also this month, he will be starring in Peacemaker on HBO Max. And we did something similar with Harry Potter and their massive, glorious franchise team. We launched a huge quiz bowl show with Helen Mirren as host, and just recently on HBO Max, Jen will, I'm sure, tell you more about it, but a reunion special with the Harry Potter cast. So both of those were huge undertakings that really took everyone reaching out across the company to make those happen and come together. And I think that's really unique at a company of this scale and size. We also launched a new talent show called The Go Big Show, which was original IP. All of those shows are coming back for second seasons, which I'm really proud of. And again, to Nancy's point, is very sort of unique in this climate. But I think that type of talent across those type of shows were what I consider the real big hits across the linear networks. The misses probably came a little bit earlier in the run in 2020, where we were all still getting our footing and really figuring out how to fill the schedule of 3 24-hour networks. So we jumped out of the gate really quickly with a couple of shows. The one that got away for me is a show called Tournament of Laughs, which was sort of a comedy-based tournament. Again, playing with our sports, with our sports partners at Turner Sports, just building off of the NCAA tournament that we have. We built a version of that around comedy hosted by this young guy, Jason Sudeikis, about 2 months before Ted Lasso came out. So I'd like to think a little ahead of our time on that one, but I think it was a miss for the right reason. We were looking to service the network and get some original programming on to keep our sales team, healthy and fresh when everything else was falling off the schedule. And so I think even in a miss, that one still counts as a hit for me because we got it on the air and I was really proud of the show.
Cool, thank you. And Jen?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
So I started at the company about 2.5 years ago. It was a year before Max launched, and we had nothing. We had zero reality, any kind of nonfiction programming. And reality isn't necessarily something that HBO is known for. Certainly, they are highly regarded on the comedy special and the doc side. So we had to figure out what was our brand, how would we fit in this puzzle, and I think this summer we really figured it out. I think that if you look at our biggest successes, F-Boy Island was a really big one because it was a bold but very self-aware dating show that kind of is in on the joke and winks at the audience and really speaks to the HBO overall brand that is expected to be a little bit edgier or surprising or unique in some way or another. So really, really proud of finding that so early in our existence, really. And then obviously the Friends reunion special was, everyone was waiting for a very long time. COVID hit, delayed it, and we finally were able to make it, and it was worth the wait. So these specials, and Corey alluded to the Harry Potter 20th anniversary retrospective. That's another reunion special that's coming up early in 22. And these are just big pop culture events that the audience loves. So I think that, the timing of these in a world where we want to celebrate and have some fun because we're all stuck in our homes and finally getting out. But I think that, the timing was right. And we really kind of stumbled on and now are building on this franchise of big nostalgic specials that really work for us. Selena Plus Chef was another, really happy accident to come from COVID, but the idea that we could have a big, huge star be super authentic and do something that she really enjoys doing, and to see her be vulnerable and have fun and be loose was a real hit for us, as well as, taking a celebrity. And I think why it's so popular is because she's been famous for a long time, since she was a kid. So you get a younger demo, which we're really, especially a female demo that we're going after, plus their parents who like cooking shows and have known Selena as well for many years. And then on the doc side, we really have carved out our own brand because, again, HBO does such a wonderful job of creating these award-winning documentaries and have for so long. Our approach is younger, leans more female, and very pop culture. Again, you'll hear me say pop culture a lot, pop culture centric. What Happened, Brittany Murphy being a really great example of that, doing so well. And then The Way Down, which was a doc about a female religious cult leader, also did very well for us. I think holistically for us right now, we just feel like we're establishing, the brand with, bold, edgy, premium series. And then on the Mrs. side, I guess we're so early, it's hard to call them Mrs. and I like to call them learnings and look at the positive. And I think that we learned that we're our most successful when we have an unexpected twist with our formats that elevates it, that we're adding layers, or we're coming to the table with a different perspective, that we wink at the camera. And we also know that, this is obvious that I'm sure we all agree, big names are also always great and helpful. And for us, we really want to provide a destination for, you know, big talent to bring their passion projects. And, you know, I'll talk about some upcoming stuff in a bit that
Great.
include big names.
Terrific, thank you. So a couple of you have alluded to COVID, but I wanted to ask about COVID specifically. How has COVID affected your productions and your development slates? What's changed because of it? Nina, can we start with you?
Sure. I think it really provided an opportunity to get even more creative and reimagine how we do everything, because we were forced to. So it sort of put us into a mode of becoming creative entrepreneurs and how do we innovate, disrupt. We did a few things. We brought a lot of production in-house because that would helped us to accelerate and fuel programming during a time when there were a lot of stops and starts, and have more control over our production process, but also be able to take ideas internally immediately and put them into action and get them on the air in real time, so that we could stay in lockstep with culture. We also went global, really placing our productions everywhere and creating bubbles, true bubbles, by creating production hubs internationally where you can shoot one show back to back to back to back. And that's going to be a long-term change and strategy for us that in some ways makes our productions a bit more COVID-proof. We doubled down on our diversity initiatives, really wanting and seeing this as an opportunity to continue to invest in underrepresented voices on the screen and behind the scenes. So we partnered with BIPOC executive producers. We invested in BIPOC and women-owned production companies. As I said, we brought in our own in-house BIPOC entities. And we worked on developing and creating a first of its kind unconscious bias training, really geared for our productions and our partners, and because our diverse environments result in stronger ideas. We were able to put up, underrepresented stories on Paramount Plus, like Queen of the Universe, the first global drag international singing competition. We made a huge investment as well in COVID health and safety. Our data for data tracking tells us that our sets are some of the safest places to be on the globe. So we're proud of that. And we really made a tailor-made COVID plan that is unique to each show, so that we could be flexible and we could keep productions up.
Great. Thank you. Corey, how has COVID affected your world? You're muted, Corey.
You'd think I would have figured that out by now. To Nina's point, I think certainly like toward the tail end of 2020 and into 21, but set sometimes felt like the safest place you could be because there were so many protocols in place, and very much like they do, we have an amazing in-house production team that really sprung into action and put into place processes and systems so that we could continue to deliver shows on time. And there are the obvious things like, the first year at least, the supply chain that everyone loves to talk about now, that had slowed down. So weird things like foam and lumber, background checks, things that we take for granted to build our sets and to get our casts through, through quality control. Everything really, really slowed down. So we've had to just, build in sort of longer runways on the shows. And obviously there's a much greater cost. So I'm sure every company does it different, but we still look at what the show costs to make and then our COVID costs on top of it, because that can't go without being mentioned. It has definitely put an added burden on all of us, I think, budgetarily. You have to take that into account in the big picture. And like everyone else, I'm sure we used that, the summer of 2020 and the fall of 2020 to, yes, while we were figuring out ways to get shows up and running safely and doing that judiciously, in our case, with some of our bigger shows, getting them on their feet so that we could launch at the beginning of 2021. We really used that time to fine tune our development, get our slate ready, get through all of our casting processes too, which obviously, as everyone knows, takes, if you're doing it right, takes a proper amount of time. And it put us in a really amazing position for not only for 2021, but for 2022. We're essentially making our shows now and buying shows for the beginning of 2023. So we've really been able to get ahead of the game on things. And I think that was sort of the hidden blessing of COVID. And to Nina's point too, we really got the opportunity to slow things down, take more time, meet with a lot of producers that we wouldn't have met with, and really invest in more diverse programming and finding more diverse voices, people that wouldn't necessarily have maybe crossed our paths or come in our doors if you were just stacking meetings up in the office. But when you can meet so many more people on Zoom and virtually, we really just had a chance to get so many new voices in the room. And a show called Friday Night Vibes came out of it, and then a lot more development that you'll see coming to fruition in the coming year. That's come out of sort of a diversity think tank that we put together that's just starting to sort of show its fruits.
Great. Looking forward to all that. And Jen, what about your COVID world? How has it changed things?
It's many things have changed, and then other things not at all, in a weird way. I think we're all fortunate to be working at big companies, because when we work with our producers, sometimes they don't have the resources or the information. So to be able to tap into Warner Media and what their learnings are as a bigger company, we've had some productions where, our partners, need our support with that. It's not just financial, it's, how do we operate this show in the safest possible way? So I feel very lucky that we've had those resources and we've been able to share those resources. I think that our productions are at this point just as ambitious as they've always been. COVID, has been it hasn't stopped that, but to Corey's point, it might be a little bit more expensive. And, we've had to deal with stop downs because, again, safety always comes first, and we just have to be nimble. And I think as a genre, reality in particular, and documentary, we're very nimble and we're very creative, and we're used to kind of making decisions on the fly and putting out fires at a moment's notice. And so I think of any group, we're probably the most prepared for chaos. And so I think that mentally, we've been ready, but it does take flexibility to a whole new state of mind. And then I would say on the development side, pitching over Zoom is really efficient. And having producers, agents, creators have to not drive around town has been great. And then, now that the world has opened up, I'm really enjoying taking meetings, having meals with people, having drinks with people and coffees. Yeah, Bob, I know. I owe you a free lunch. I know. And I'm using that time to really connect. And then the pitching part can happen over Zoom. So I'm feeling, like I'm loving this new way to build relationships.
Terrific. And I'll check back with you on that lunch.
I know.
Did you see how fast all of us were like?
Yeah, we know.
I would agree with you, Jen, though, the Zoom pitching, at first it was a little awkward, right? Nobody could figure it out. And then, I got to give credit to these, producers and pitchers who really figured out how to maximize kind of the Zoom environment and almost they could be more creative in their pitching by
Yeah.
doing it over Zoom. And it's kind of saved everybody's like a tremendous amount of time, energy, travel, all of that doesn't have to happen anymore, which I think has been great. And then I'll just say quickly on the COVID thing, I think in the beginning, those first few months, which was just, they were just terrifying, right? It was terrifying on a personal level, and thinking about all of our productions and everybody we have out there, and wanting to not be responsible for anybody getting sick or bringing anything home. It was really hard. And we really just went with like, we have to do the right thing in the beginning. We kind of shut down, Discovery in and of itself is known for being out in the world, right? And adventure. And it was pretty scary. And then, to Jen's point too, like we got nimble and we figured it out, and we figured out how to do it safely with our producers, with various COVID protocols. And then at that point for Discovery, sometimes some of our remoteness actually helped. So when we could get people out somewhere, quarantine them for a while, which costs money and is hard on people too, but then you would have a bubble and you could shoot your show and it could feel not different at all, which was great. And then on top of it, another good thing that came out of it for us was we ended up developing a talk show inadvertently with Josh Gates, who is our, adventure travel guy. All of a sudden couldn't get on a plane and was producing it out of his spare bedroom in his house. And it was fun and funny. And we've expanded it and brought it into a studio now and made it so guests come in, and it's becoming a more traditional thing. But it was also fun for us to, you had no choice but to be okay with trying new things, because that was all you could do to get stuff on the air. And that part of it has been a good thing.
Great, thank you very much. So the pièce de résistance, the highlights of your plans for 2022, we got to hear about them. You've teased us a little bit. Now we want to hear some more. Corey, can we start with you?
Sure. I think, we're in a really good position. We've brought back almost all of the shows that we launched last year. So Go Big Show and Wipeout are back this month, 2022. We're bringing back The Cube, which is our Dwayne Wade fronted game show that you have given me some nice compliments on.
I love it.
Thank you. And a couple of shows on True are coming back, Fast Foodies. A couple of new things that we have coming up. We are getting ready to shoot a reboot of a segment that was made popular on David Letterman's Late Show, Stupid Pet Tricks, with Sarah Silverman hosting. We just feel like the pet world is obviously a big, wide open space to sort of explore at that sort of AGT level. And we're launching our first cooking show on TBS. Fast Foodies, like I said, launched on True, and they'd never launched a cooking show there before, and the audience really took to it. But this one for TBS is called Rat in the Kitchen, and it's sort of a traditional cooking show with a really great Masked Singer-esque play-along game to it. And that is hosted by Natasha Leggero and Ludo Lefebvre. Not for nothing that his best restaurant is about 6 blocks from my house. So that has worked out very, very well for me. But also just, I think, like I mentioned, we're buying a lot of big, exciting shows for 2023, and really just, figuring out how to evolve the shows that are already seeing some success, and really investing in some more diverse programming so that we can deliver on that sort of promise and start to change the look of the air and earn some credibility with that audience a little bit more. So those are the priorities for this coming year and next year.
Great. Jen, what about you? Unmute. There.
For some reason, I forgot how to unmute my thing. Okay. So we too are bringing back a lot of season ones for season 2 that we're excited about. Sweet Life, which is the Issa Rae docu-soap, kind of the real life Insecure. F-Boy Island, have to bring that back. We're casting now, and I get into a lot of trouble when my husband walks by and he hears the casting sessions. He's like, that show. The Hype, we're bringing back our streetwear competition show, Wall Street, the Mark Wahlberg show, House of Ho is also coming back. And then we have some new formats coming out too that I'm excited about. My Mom, Your Dad, which was created by Greg and Haley Daniels. You know the father, now you're going to know the daughter. They teamed up and they created this multi-generational dating format where the kids are secretly playing puppet master to their single parents who are all living in a house down the street. And it's super cringy and fun. And then we're doing About Last Night with Steph and Aisha Curry, which is a celeb relationship game show. It's our first attempt at it at this type of format. And, you know, we're able to be super unfiltered and it's a lot of fun. And celebrities, they are very open about their sex lives, which I think is great. And then we're doing the Big Brunch with Dan Levy, which is a big food competition show, and Jason Momoa's project, The Climb, which is a rock climbing competition show. So those are some highlights that we're really, really excited about.
Terrific. Wow. Can't wait to see all of that. Wow. Nancy, what about you?
On our linear networks, we have a lot of kind of what I mentioned before. We're doing a lot more of what's working and then kind of franchise expansions and spinoffs, things in our Gold Rush universe, things in Moonshiners universe. They keep working and we're going to keep doing it. Street Outlaws is a big one for us. When it comes to the streaming slate, I mentioned before Naked and Afraid of Love, and we got really excited and inspired about, what is kind of the dating shows or the relationship shows that can be in the kind of male factual space, or at least have a foot in there. And we have one coming out in this quarter on Discovery Plus that is really, it's from the producers of 90 Day Fiancé, and it's about, the working title right now is Love Off the Grid, and it's people who live off the grid who have met somebody somehow in the real world, and that person is leaving everything they know and going to live off the grid with them, and what will happen. And the show is awesome, and I'm super excited about seeing that one. We have some other relationships shows coming down the line. We're also been working with big names and celebs and seeing what that can do to bring in an audience. We have something with Team Downey and Robert Downey's company as well, Robert Downey Jr. And then we also are working with the wonderful Jason Momoa on a project with him too. So we have a bunch of stuff coming next year that is kind of really stretching who we are, and it's exciting to see how that'll work.
We're all excited for that. And Nina.
Yeah, we're super excited about how much traction reality is getting. It's my favorite genre. It's where I started in the business, and seeing how it's one of the most consumed genres in the world. So there's huge opportunity, but like everyone else, we're going to continue to invest in our, biggest franchises on linear, more All-Stars Challenge, All-Stars Shore for our first ever of all of the global most popular castmates together in one shore house, and looking across all of our shows for opportunities to cast more globally. X on the Beach coming back, more dating, more social experiment, more competition shows. Surreal Life making a return. We have Dennis Rodman, Stormy Daniels, August Alsina, Frankie Muniz, Kim Coles, and Tamar Braxton, and more. We're excited for those 8 unexpected housemates, and Secret Celebrity Drag Race. Just continuing to, launch off of what our audience tells us they want more of.
Well, I want more of all of that. I'll be watching everything that all of you have just mentioned, I promise. Last question, the fun one. I know I'm curious, and I think many of our members are too. which of your competitors' shows do you most enjoy watching? Can we start with you, Jen?
Sure. 90 Day Fiance was an early COVID family binge. And so I don't know if that makes me a bad mother, but I don't care. I love that show. Escape to the Chateau has been a nice, soothing kind of escape. And British Bake Off has always been a favorite of mine.
My wife loves the Chateau show too. I watched every episode. Nancy?
It's funny. I'm still into kind of old school reality, and I watch it with my son. As we still watch every season of Survivor, and we even went back and watched past seasons when it wasn't coming back on the air. We ended up watching a few that he had done his research on and knew they were the best ones, and we had to watch them together, and that was great. And I am an always and forever fan of Big Brother, which Corey and I met on Big Brother many years ago. And it still is such a great show. And I have to just give a shout out to both of those shows. I don't know if any of you are watching the current season of Survivor or watched this past summer of Big Brother, but the way both of those shows have attacked diversity and what is happening in the world is kind of amazing. And they probably don't get enough credit for how they've been able to tackle those issues and have very honest conversations about it. And it's been great to watch them with my kid and have discussions about that as well.
Terrific. Nina?
I would 90 Day Fiance and F-Boy Island are talked about with amongst myself and my team incessantly. We have content crushes on both of those. And then just, a pastime of mine has always been Housewives. I was responsible for the Teresa Giudice table flip. I still get a huge kick out of watching the Housewife franchises, which I know Jen spent a lot of time on as well.
Terrific. And Corey?
Yeah, I'm with Nancy. I'm still a little old school. We are Big Brother and Survivor watchers, and I still watch every season of Dancing with the Stars. But I would be lying if I didn't say that any version of the Jersey Shore, Are You the One, or The Challenge wasn't playing as like a constant soundtrack in my house. My girls they will watch like the international versions of all the shows. They are obsessed. So that has been a family affair as well. Jen and I are going to the Bad Mother school together. But you know what?
It's all guilty pleasure. It's all good.
Pleasure. Yep. And obviously 90 Day Fiance. We'd all kill for one of those. So
I like to call it self-care, not
Yeah.
guilt.
there you go.
It is all good. And what was also good, actually great, was this panel. It was a delight to speak with you all, to hear your honest reflections on the past and the present and the future. I'm just thrilled to be on the same Zoom screen with you. And I wish you all the best of luck in the coming year. And just appreciate so much that you took part in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I really appreciate all the time and effort put into this panel from our broadcast executives and our cable and streaming executives. And special thanks to our committee from the Reality Programming Peer Group who helped us plan this event. This is going to be a very exciting year coming up in reality. We hope you enjoy that, and we hope you had a good time listening to what's coming up in the state of reality. Thanks for playing, everyone.